What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Doubt and Devotion podcast. I am your co-host, Billy G.
What's going on, guys? I'm Jared.
And if you've been watching this channel for a while, you might think to yourself, that room looks completely different. The name is completely different. What the hell is going on?
Pretty much everything's different.
Yes.
Yeah. So we're in a new spot. I moved. We haven't uploaded for 26 months. And largely due to that, you know, the moving process was stressful. On top of that, life was going on. And the biggest thing for me was I ended up getting addicted to Percocet and kratom, unfortunately, after all the surgeries, which inevitably threw a wrench in things.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's one of those things where no one plans on getting addicted to prescription drugs at any point in their life. But I think it also is an extremely common story that maybe people are too ashamed to talk about. So, look, for me, I am not ashamed of the past that I have, of the addiction that I lived in. Look, if I could go back and change it, I probably would. But I'm glad that it happened to me, because it made me the person that I am today. And I know that may sound like cliche, and I know that may sound like, oh, he's just saying that. But I legitimately mean that. I learned so much being in recovery and getting kind of a cheat code on life, being able to be kind of like reborn in a way, and learn to grow up in recovery. So I think it's actually a strength when somebody goes through something like that and then is able to come out on the other side a better person.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say it's shame. It's more so anger towards myself.
Yeah.
Like looking at old pictures. It was 2 years of my life.
Yeah.
That, especially when it started to seep into my marriage, fatherhood. Again, I was present, but you know how it is. Like you're more irritable. You're just not yourself. No matter what you want to tell yourself.
No,
you're not your normal self.
Definitely not. And your life becomes about one mission, and that mission is just staying right.
Yeah,
it really is. It's just staying right, and anything that interferes with that is a massive issue.
which I think is like a lot of people's issues is they don't know how to cut out the people that no longer belong in their life.
Yeah,
I realized I had to do that relatively quickly.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, but even drinking. Because. Again, denial is a powerful thing. I told myself that drinking every once in a while was not an issue.
Yeah.
And it definitely was an issue.
It's a massive issue.
Yeah.
In my opinion, for me, and I've made this analogy several times before, that addiction, I think once you cross the line in your life, no matter what you cross the line with, anything that stimulates that same pleasure center in the brain becomes a problem. Okay, because I know for me and other addicts and alcoholics and just people in general, they like to make categories of these things. Well, alcohol's over here in its own category, and opiates and hard drugs are in this category, and marijuana's in this category, and there's levels to it. It's not, dude. It is all the same exact thing, whether you want to believe that or not. It is the same exact thing. It all flips the same light switch. The light switch goes on or off. You don't kind of turn a light switch on, right? There's no halfway. It's either on or off. And that's how drugs and alcohol work in the brain. It either kicks on that monster or you don't kick on the monster at all.
Yeah, and it was something that I kept telling myself that it wouldn't happen, because I knew from other friends, plenty of friends.
Yeah.
I did some research. 1 in 16 people after surgeries become addicted to opioids.
And that's actually startling, considering that roughly 250,000 surgeries happen per day in the United States. I'm assuming most of those are major surgeries. Probably at least half are major surgeries, and those people are walking out with opioid pain medication.
I would assume majority of them.
Yeah.
Right? Even if it's something that you
even if it's
consider
elective,
minor.
Yeah, if you're going under
surgery,
general anesthesia, I mean, that's serious.
You're coming out with something.
Absolutely. I mean, dude, I got a sinus surgery done a couple years ago. Wasn't even put under general anesthesia. I told the doctor, I looked him in the face and said, do not give me pain medication. I have this past, I blah, blah. He still left me with a prescription for pain medication, which I did not fill.
Yeah, which that's definitely a struggle
Come
in
on,
itself.
bro. Yeah.
Yeah. That's
Like, come on. Luckily, I had like 6 years clean at that point, or 5 or 6 years clean at that point. But like, dude, you know, like I literally sat here and told you that, like, please don't give me this. Please give me an alternative. And I still walked out with a prescription pad for it.
Yeah, I had that concern. I just had a surgery like a month ago now, and I had to take something. I was in a lot of pain.
Yeah, yeah.
I ended up taking them. Thank God it wasn't an issue, but it was in my mind. You know, like I had to be very cautious and make sure that.
For sure. And I've had one instance in my recovery where I had to take a pain medication, and it was like maybe a year and a half or so ago. I had a bowel impactation. So it's where your stool just kind of turns to a hard lump, and it just you can't go to the bathroom. And it was by far one of the most painful things that's ever happened to me. Doubled over in pain. And I remember the doctor calling for the morphine, and I was like, dude, I can't tell you how much I don't want to do that. Like, I'm almost like about to cry on the hospital bed. I'm like, please don't do that. But at the end of the day, he was like, dude, I can't even roll you over to give you an assessment because you're in so much pain. And, you know, reluctantly, I'd let him do it, you know. But I'll tell you what, the craziest thing, I remember feeling it, right? And then I instantly remember feeling like, I can't believe I spent so much time chasing that. Like, that was so not worth it.
Yeah, the enjoyment wasn't there.
It was so not worth it. Yeah, I was so happy and relieved for the moment because I was like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
This is awful, actually.
Yeah, the main thing for me was the kratom issue because of the accessibility.
And that's absolutely something we have to talk about because I think we're at a place in society where everybody knows opiates are a dangerous thing. Okay, we went through, you know, us growing up in our generation, the early 2000s, the pill mills being here in South Florida. I think it's pretty common knowledge that opiates are dangerous, right? But this kratom stuff brings things to a different level, right? Because it's being passed off as this safe alternative, this panacea of getting high, when in reality, it's coming with a ton of side effects and it's coming with a ton of dangers.
It acts on the same receptors.
Yes.
It's literally opioid in liquid form.
Yes.
And the uptick is crazy. What I saw was 1,600 cases the poison control dealt with in 2024. Obviously, probably a massive uptick from 2024 to now.
For sure.
But 10 years prior, it was like a quarter of that.
Of course. Well, because it's become so popularized now, right? And I think 5 states or so have it banned at the moment. Because they're starting to recognize on a state level, like, what kind of problems this is causing. But as of the moment, federally, this is a legal thing. This is a legal thing that is allowed to happen.
It has to change.
Yeah, because you know, and there's different layers of the kratom stuff. There's like the teas, and then there's the 7-OH stuff, which is like the crack version of it.
I didn't know that until you said it.
Yeah, that's like the new big boy in town. You know what I mean? And I personally have friends and family members who are falling to the delusion that this is an okay thing to do until they very quickly realize that it is not an okay thing to do.
Because again, they could walk into any head shop, any gas station. I don't know if gas stations have 7-OH, but they have the...
I think they do, dude. They have the little shots and stuff, man.
Those are the ones you got to be careful of. That's what I was first started taking when I was going through all the surgeries.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just trying to take away pain at that point. I'm not trying to get high.
Yeah.
When you're feeling that much pain, you're not getting high. Like that's not what you're thinking.
That is very true. At least in my experience, like in the experience I see with others, when you're in legitimate pain, painkillers don't really give you the euphoria.
Yes. Yeah.
They just kind of relieve the situation a little bit. I think the problem becomes when there is no more pain.
Yes.
And you convince yourself that there is pain.
Yes.
All right. There's the slippery slope that people fall into.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
Right. You start to come to the tail end. The pain's there, but you could knock it out with
totally
Advil or
okay.
Tylenol.
Yes.
If you want to be real.
Yes.
That's the truth. And you keep telling yourself it's there and it's needed, and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
And then that's it. Once it gets a hold of you, it was harder for me to quit kratom than it was the opioids.
Yeah, man. And I think that is really down to the accessibility aspect of
100%.
it. And it's also down to the societal aspect of it, which is why I think we see people struggle so much with alcoholism for longer than they should. So like, for example, and this is something I notice in the recovery community, you have people who are kind of in two separate classes sometimes, where they're mainly drug users, though they will drink, and then you have like mainly drinkers that'll kind of use drugs here and there, maybe. The people who are predominant drug users seem to hit bottom really fast. They come in rehabs at 18, 19 years old, early 20s, and it's because I noticed that while it all flips that same switch, the societal pressure of you using drugs is so harsh that it forces you to get help right away. Okay, you're sticking a needle in your arm or you're putting a crack pipe in your mouth. Like, dude, you're not doing that in front of your family. You're not telling your friends about that. Like, that is an obvious problem. Okay.
Yeah.
And it forces people, I think, to hit that bottom a little faster and seek help faster. Whereas with alcohol is a slow bleed because it is so societally acceptable and because it's not something that will kill you in one night. Now, look, again, alcohol poisoning does exist, but it's pretty rare. That it becomes this slow thing that you justify in your mind over and over and over time. And I think that kratom bleeds into that same situation as alcohol.
I think the issue is exactly what you're saying. Like it's so widely acceptable that people are drinking it during the day.
I could be at work. I've seen people with the clear cup.
And that's what it is.
And the tea, and I know exactly what that shit is. You know, I know exactly what it is. And I really do believe that is what's contributing to so many people falling victim to it.
100%.
Yeah.
Compared to alcohol, you're not going to be drinking on a job, at least, and you're not going to keep your job, at least, if you're drinking and going on break and drinking in your car.
Yeah,
most times. I'm sure plenty of people get away with it.
They definitely do.
But I don't think it's as acceptable. Not that kratom should be accepted. I don't think it should, but it's definitely a thing. Same with vaping. Vaping is the norm in offices.
Yeah,
someone has a vape in their hand at all times at their desk.
That's very true.
But that's another part of the issue. It's causing massive addiction.
Yes, and I think is the difference between cigarettes and vaping.
Yes,
and this is somebody who smoked cigarettes and vaped. I'm actually over a year vape free now.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's because of the ease of use. Dude, I literally walk through Publix, which for those who don't know is a grocery store, and just do it.
Sit at
movie
your desk.
theaters, restaurants. Whereas smoking is so inconvenient.
You have to go outside.
You have to go outside and fucking
go away
stink.
from people.
Yeah, people complain when you're around. They're expensive as hell. Okay, so it's like we just made addiction easier.
Yes.
That's really all we did,
and more accepted.
Yes, and where I think this is like kratom. Kratom is like the vaping of opiates. You know what I mean?
Agreed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest issue is the accessibility and how accepted it is.
Yeah.
And it has to change. So again, like you said, some states are starting to recognize that, but I just feel like it's not moving quick enough.
No. And unfortunately, we're probably gonna have to see people get serious diseases or die and look, have people died from kratom at this point?
We have to look that up.
We're going to look it up. Also, for those who don't know, we now have a third person on the podcast. We have our boy Mike Holmes behind the cameras now. He's going to be doing all the editing and all the technical stuff.
Fact checking.
Yes, because me and Jared seem to be technical retards. Because every podcast we did had at least one flaw in it.
91 overdoses.
91 overdoses, he says.
US between 2016 and 2017.
Okay, so that's roughly 1 year. Now, look, substantially less than opiates.
But at the same time, there's been a major uptick in the kratom.
That is very true because that is an old. That is
10 years ago.
That is 10 years ago.
So
it's 2026, isn't it?
It says the
Wow.
Tampa Bay Times investigation found 580 kratom-related deaths in Florida alone over about a decade.
So about 500 kratom-related deaths. Now, what I find interesting is how they label these things. This kind of goes back to that certain virus we're not allowed to talk about, where they correlate things to that. Like, is it a direct result of kratom
exactly
use?
like,
You know what I mean?
or are they doing other stuff?
Or did he just like get hit by a car in a kratom system? You know what I mean?
You never really know.
Yeah. So what does that really mean? And I think that's part of the problem is we don't have these numbers on it yet because it's so new and because people are now getting mass addicted, we're not going to see the consequences for several years. I mean, think about it. Oxycontin was invented in the early 1990s, and we didn't see its full ramifications until the 2000s.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I think
Takes a lot of time.
We're probably just around now going to start seeing just how dangerous this
Again,
really is.
especially with the uptick, massive uptick.
Yes.
Poison control, again, it was like a quarter of what it is now.
And here's another interesting thing. So I know right now, alcohol use and abuse is at an all-time low societally. Okay. Do we think it's because other things are being substituted?
100%.
It's gotta be.
It's
right?
confirmed because, again, I just saw an article that was talking about the use of the cannabis drinks.
Yes.
So a lot of the younger generation is switching to those.
Okay.
So the cannabis drinks has a massive uptick. The liquor industry is taking a massive hit.
Man.
And look at the uptick in kratom.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're switching to other things to abuse.
That's so interesting, man. I wonder why though. Like, what makes it more attractive?
I think it goes back to what I was saying, that it's more acceptable to do
because
during
they
the
can
day.
do it because they can do
Yes.
it whenever.
Yes.
Oh, I can dig that, man.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You know,
I
they
dig
could
that.
go grab a can of the cannabis drink on the way to work if they wanted.
That's true.
It's just a fact.
Yeah, and if you get pulled over, like, prove it.
Yeah.
Prove them intoxicated.
It's a lot harder.
Yeah, because booze, it's really easy.
The stench is not
Yeah.
is not
it's
prevalent.
super easy to get a DUI. You know. Wow.
I would assume that's it. It makes a lot of sense
It's
when
not like
you think
addiction's
about
just
it.
going away, right? It's not like it's just disappearing.
And like you said, there's not enough research yet. Even vaping. How long has vaping been around?
Not
I don't
long
really
enough.
know.
Which you know what, I'm so glad that I did stop because I still very much have an addict in here. Okay, he lives in this little box inside that I keep under lock and key. Okay, and at any time that I give him something pleasurable, he will abuse it.
He takes hold.
Yeah, I will abuse it. Because I noticed even with the vaping, man, I was vaping so much that I was giving myself acid reflux. Like I was giving myself gastritis.
Yeah.
Because the juice was going down my throat. And I went to doctors, right? And like all the GI doctors couldn't figure this out. Like they give me medications and stuff. Nothing was getting better. And one day I was like, I wonder if it's the vaping. Because I remember I would take a hit and it would be so good. And I'd let it out and then boom, immediate acid reflux. And I liked the mint ones. Okay. I liked the mint ones.
The flavors, man, the
The flavors are very good.
Yeah, they get you.
They are very good. And I remember thinking to myself, maybe this is the problem. And sure as shit.
As soon as you stopped, shortly after.
Bro, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm like officially an old guy now. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm 38. Okay.
Yeah.
So I get acid reflux, but not like before, dude. Before it was like after every meal. And I couldn't figure out why.
My main thing, and luckily that was an easy thing for me to kick because I mainly just had it for the flavor.
Right.
I don't really feel like I inhaled like properly, to get that nicotine addiction.
Yeah.
So that was easy for me to kick, but the flavors they'll get you. But I did notice one thing that if you pay attention, my heart rate would be higher than usual.
Oh, yes.
I don't know about blood pressure, but I would assume so.
Definitely, 100%.
And my cardio, dude, my breathing just went downhill drastically in a short period.
Yes.
So again, it's due to lack of research, and it's just something that's unknown.
Yes.
I have one of my buddies. He's like 25, works at the barbershop I go to, and he's having heart issues. And I asked him, and he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." He had the vape glued.
Oh, I was
Glued
I
to
was
his
the same
hand.
way. I was
He'd
the
be
same
doing
way.
cuts, fading someone up, taking a hit at the same
literally
time.
the middle of the night, Jared. I'd
Yeah.
wake up to go pee, and it would grab it.
Yeah.
Do it as I'm peeing.
No
and then
bueno.
Put it back. And then
No
go back
bueno.
to bed.
You wake up, as soon as you wake up, you hit that.
Oh, it was a problem.
That's a
dude.
problem.
Yeah, it was a serious problem.
But again, it's massively accepted, and
Yeah.
it's going to be a lot harder for people to kick for that
For
reason.
sure.
When it's
For
frowned
sure.
upon, and you feel that need to hide it, and you
Yes.
feel that shame.
Yes.
It's easier for you to kick.
Exactly. And that's exactly what I'm saying about the 7OH stuff and the kratom stuff. Because look, man, I'm in my 10th year of sobriety now.
Congratulations.
Okay? Which is like,
Fantastic. Yeah.
I mean,
a decade.
Talking about a guy who couldn't stay clean for like 10 days. Like, I'm dead serious. 10 days was not possible. Okay. And I'm glad that kratom did not really exist back then. Because I know for sure I would have justified it in my mind that it was okay. And I probably would have substituted for that and then just stayed on that because that's what I would do.
Yeah.
I already know myself. And I'm very lucky that I stopped when I did because that's 2016 is right when the fentanyl stuff was really starting to pick up steam. Who knows, I'd probably be dead at this point, and thank God for you that you never came across anything fentanyl laced or, because I'm telling you right now, man, like if you're doing anything today, anything from the streets, you are playing with fire.
Yes.
Even marijuana, man. Like, look, I am not a proponent of marijuana. I think that makes people lazy. I think it makes you not live to your full potential. I think you are just coasting by in life when you use marijuana, okay? But if you're going to use it, just go to like a dispensary or something, man. Like go figure it out.
You might as well nowadays.
Go figure it out a different way because these people on the streets selling drugs don't care.
Nope.
They don't care about you. They don't care about your life. They just want to make money. And half the time, the guy that's selling it to you has no fucking clue.
They get it from somewhere else.
Who then cut it? Who then the guy before them cut it?
They're not filling a script.
They don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. They don't know. All right. And we're at a point now, man, where like I can't even count my fingers and toes how many friends, people I know in recovery,
that
who have died. People I legitimately cared about.
Yes.
Had conversations with, sat across tables from, had dinner with, who are dead because of shit like that. So I'm grateful that in your time you didn't come across anything like that because, man, right now it's super prevalent.
And listen, it was definitely on my mind.
Yeah.
And that's another thing that kind of enrages me.
Yeah.
Is I have a 5-year-old son and a beautiful wife that would be crushed.
And you took that risk anyway.
Absolutely.
That shows you how powerful addiction is. That despite knowing the consequences, you will do it anyway.
Yeah.
Dude,
Not to mention the cost.
For sure.
They were like $15, $20 a pill.
Look, back in the day, and I don't know where they're at now, it was about $1 a milligram for opiates back then.
Now it's about $1.50 to $2.
Yeah.
And I feel ashamed as I know the price. Like I hated the fact that I just said that.
What's crazy is even earlier than that, when I first started in like 2008, dude, they were so cheap. I was getting the higher milligram ones for like $8, $9, which is crazy considering
it's
where it's
again,
at now.
it's so funny to me that we're having a conversation about a good deal on pills.
Yes.
just to clarify.
Yeah.
Because that's still pricey though. I was doing 10 milligrams a day.
Oh, buddy, I was doing 30 milligrams.
All right, guy. Like,
yeah,
right.
not
to be proud
not to make a dick picture contest, okay? But
not exactly.
But I'm just saying, like it can go deep. Man.
Yes,
you can get
again
real
10 a day while also on kratom.
That's the part. See, that part's interesting. I wonder how that interacts with each other. Like, can you overdose easier using kratom and opiates together?
I would assume so, but we'll find out.
We're gonna find out because I think that's super interesting.
Yeah, I would definitely assume so. Look, I definitely noticed that I was getting higher. It's not
for
like,
sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
It was basically what I did to sustain the high throughout the day.
Yeah,
and that was another thing that made it hard for me to kick is I was functioning. I was running a successful business.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest issue and made it so much easier for me to justify, but it's not okay.
And I think the accessibility portion of it allows for that. Because look, when I was doing my dirt, like I had to have like a dealer on standby. I had to meet in a shady place.
Yeah.
It was very inconvenient.
Yes.
Okay. To do what I needed to do, I had to find bathrooms to do it in and be alone and like Gollum, it was like a little creature. It made it so hard to do it back then that my life was completely unmanageable. You know what I mean? Like there was no way I was holding jobs. There was no way I was doing any of these things where something like that, I feel like it makes you're able to manage your life a little better. You know what I mean? Okay, you wake up, I'm going to stop by the bar. I'm going to grab my couple little drinks for the day or go to the gas station, grab my shots for the day. And then you go live your day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whereas when you're like doing it for real, like the underground stuff, dude, you gotta have drug dealers. And you gotta
have a plan.
dude. Yeah,
You
and
gotta
you're on
have a
their
plan.
time, which is never the right time.
Yeah.
Okay. They say 5 o'clock, they mean 7. Okay. Your whole life revolves around that shit. So I could see how your life ended up that way and how that would make it more difficult.
Yeah,
because
I
your
was
life
able to bridge the
seems-
gap.
Yeah, your life has the illusion of being more manageable that way.
Yeah, and you know, when I took accountability, I sat down every single one of my employees.
Yeah.
And I told them like what's been going on for the last 2
Yeah.
years, and they all had the same confused look on their face. But after I explained, you know, like, because again, it changes you. I was more irritable, like,
For sure.
just kind of gave them cold shoulder at time,
Yeah.
and they didn't deserve that, you
Yeah.
know. So and mainly for the accountability for myself. You know about accountability and addiction.
For sure.
You need it.
It is essential. There is not a person who knows me, not one, who doesn't know about my past and where I'm at today, because I don't need anybody to have an out with.
Yes.
Okay. There's not one person in my life that would look at me drinking or being messed up in any sort of way and be like, that's okay. Not one. And that's how it has to be. They all have to know, like, okay, if that's a real problem, if he's messed up in any way, shape, or form, you know? Because being transparent in recovery, I think, is the most important aspect. of it.
Yes.
It is so important that people know and that there's no shame attached to it, man. And I think it's important that we talk about like how you overcame it, right? So we spent some time talking about the problem. All right. So what's the solution then? Because you're sitting there looking at two people who encountered the problem and are now living in the solution.
Yeah. So for me, the only thing I needed was to know that my marriage would crumble. She would have left me.
Yeah.
And she is an absolute ride or die
She
companion.
is. Absolutely.
But
I lived with you. I saw it.
yes.
Yeah.
But I know when she tells me something, she means it.
She means it. Yeah.
And
You're
that's-
smart for listening.
It's the last thing I wanted.
Yeah.
So truth is, I just kind of went into my room, stayed in the dark for days, coming out of both ends.
Yeah,
and,
yeah. Oh.
And excruciating pain.
Yeah.
Something that I never want to do again.
Yeah.
I'd never want to have those withdrawals again. It was a horrible experience.
And I hope you know how fortunate you are to have that experience, right? Because you probably don't know that consequences rarely make people stop doing anything, okay? I've been to jail. I went to rehabs. I had a lot of consequences, man. And they never stopped me. And the majority of addicts, alcoholics, people who have dealt with addiction problems, the consequences generally do not stop them. They're going to do what they're going to do, what they're going to do, and they will always find a way to make it happen. So for people listening, I want the viewer to understand how lucky you are and fortunate that you caught it in a time where you had the wherewithal enough to see where the road was heading and stopping there. Because unfortunately what happens, and what happened in my case, you're too far down that road. And once you're too far down that road and the consequences start coming, they kind of don't matter.
Yeah.
Because you're already lost, you know? And then it takes really drastic intervention to help people like that, to help someone like me. It took drastic intervention.
Rock bottom has to come, right?
Yes, and more than once.
Yeah.
And more than once. You know, I hit rock bottom several times. You know, and it wasn't until me within myself wanting more for my life.
Yeah.
You know, like I remember I was 27 years old, and I had been clean a couple times, gotten like 9 months here, a year here, which are substantial periods of time.
Yeah.
Okay. And constantly going back to it. And I remember I was 27. I remember scrolling through Facebook and seeing all the people I knew from high school. And people were like doctors and pharmacists and had kids and had businesses. And I was in a room alone getting high with no money, no car, no real place to live. And I thought to myself, is this how it's going to be? You know, and I think for me, it was a jumping off place. It was one of those moments in my life where I was either going to make the decision to do this forever, or I was going to make the decision to turn my life around.
Yeah.
you know, and I'm so glad that I made the decision to turn my life around. I remember I got handed a paycheck at work. It was like $300, right? And I was staring at that paycheck, and it was that moment where I was like, do I take this $300 and go do what I normally do?
Yeah.
Or do I take this $300 and go try and find a halfway house to live in? Because this will get me about a week's worth of rent, and then I could find other ways to make money. And it was a tough decision.
Yeah.
It was a hard decision for me. It's so crazy that it was a hard decision, given all the years of bullshit before that. And I was just like, you know what? Not this time, man. You know, and I remember driving north to Palm Beach and finding this horrible halfway house that I gave all my money to share a room with a dude who snored so loud. And goddamn, it was the best fucking decision I ever made in my whole life. You know, best decision I ever made in my whole life. And I found my solution in 12-step programs. And Alcoholics Anonymous was my preferred choice. Narcotics Anonymous also as well. But you found relief in a kind of a different way.
Yeah. So again, the motivation to not lose my family was by far the biggest
What
motivator.
pushed you. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I will say that finding God, finding my way to God was by far the biggest help in this. And the thing that caused me to kind of step into church, I should say back into church, because I used to go a long time ago. When I was like 15 or 16 years old, I started going. Long story short, the pastor that was preaching and telling us what to do and what not to do got busted for doing all the stuff you're not supposed to do. You know, so I was church hurt, which is super common.
Very
I found out.
dude.
Yes.
That's a super common story.
Common. And once I was explained, when I stepped back into church and I was telling people that story, they're like, you can't put these people on a pedestal.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they're humans. They're not God, and they're supposed to be your guides, but you can't put them on a pedestal.
Right.
Which made sense afterwards.
Right. Yeah.
But I stayed away for a long time. While I was going through all the surgeries, I kept having these vivid dreams that I would wake up and tell Daniela, I gotta go to church. I gotta go to church. I didn't know exactly what it was, but I felt convicted to step into church.
We in AA, we call that a moment of clarity. We call it a moment of clarity. And when it happens, you better listen.
Yeah.
Because they don't come often. And when they do come, they're usually that jumping off place. You know, it's that jumping off place in your life where you're about to make a life-changing decision.
Yeah, I genuinely feel now that it was a calling, right? Like now my motivator is to do this, you know, find outlets to help just one person.
Yeah.
If I could know that I made an impact on one person, maybe that is watching this episode or another episode and decides to turn their life around, that's enough for me.
For sure.
You know, like and it's a major outlet for me too, right?
Yeah.
Getting to talk about these things is something that I need and men need in general.
I completely agree. And that's going to be a topic for a whole other episode is men's mental health and like societal pressures and where guys like us fall. You know, the guys who are striving to be the top
1%.
The top 1% of men. You know what I mean? And it's a special kind of pressure that is put on us. And look, those things can lead to wanting to find relief in addiction as well. I think they can tie together in a way. But you know, I want to say too for the viewer that there's no monopoly on recovery. Okay, there's no for sure 100% certain path that you need to walk.
Yeah.
Okay, like we found the other side through two completely different means. Okay, the whole point is that we're on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay, and I tell people this all the time. For me, Alcoholics Anonymous saved my life. It was the last house on the block for me. And it's usually the last house on the block for a lot of people. People who are coming into this situation with old ideas about what God is or about these biases or judgments about church and these things generally find success in Alcoholics Anonymous because there is no organized religion aspect of it, right? And I think that's what makes it so successful. The founder, Bill W., was an absolute genius. He wrote the book in 1939.
Wow.
And it still speaks to people today. I can read that book today and be like, that is me.
That's what's amazing about the Bible to me.
But he knows me.
Yeah.
You know, the big book of AA is crazy. if you're a real alcoholic, okay, because it goes into the psyche. And that book, lays out the program, and it masterfully helps the addict who comes in or the alcoholic who comes in with those biases find a higher power, right? Because it doesn't use certain language, and it was very genius how we went about it.
Yeah, so it's kind of similar to what you're saying is the old school mentality. I feel that that's what keeps people away from church is that old school. I realize it's a lot of Catholics that have this very strict kind of regimen growing up.
Yes.
And they assume that it's
all like
that's
that.
all that it is.
Yeah.
And if you find the right church, I feel you have such a different experience, and this is not, I don't want this to shift into like trying to bring people to church if they want to. If they want to do it, go for it.
Same. I don't care if you go to AA or not. You know what I mean? For me, it saved my life. Could
I'm
save
just
yours
speaking
too.
for me personally.
Yeah, exactly.
For me personally, it was just such a refreshing experience, and it changed my entire outlook because I kind of had that old school mentality where you just feel like that God does exist, but he's like this angry God, and there's no fixing yourself.
Those are the old ideas I was talking about. And Alcoholics Anonymous specifically touches on old ideas, they put it, where you're coming in with a bias of what you believe your conception of a higher power is, right? And the whole point of the program is to give you a new conception.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the genius aspect of it, right? In the big book, too, they talk about having a spiritual experience sufficient enough to bring about recovery from alcoholism. And I think that is the absolute key to recovery, no matter how you find it, okay? Whether you find it through the 12 steps, whether you find it through going to a church, whether you find it through other religions, other means, finding what is called a spiritual experience sufficient enough to bring about the mental change needed is what's required to recover. And I think that however you find that is okay.
Yeah.
However you find that is, do it.
Whatever works for you.
Do it, okay? And I think that people have to understand too, when I say spiritual experience, I want to say what that means. It doesn't necessarily have to mean you finding God, right? What I mean is the spiritual change that happens from here to here, right? From your head to your heart, that road, that change. And if you can make that happen, you can recover from addiction. You absolutely can.
So touching on that a little bit, like the main thing for me, when I was getting high, I wasn't getting high just to get high. I was trying to escape myself.
Yeah.
Right. So I had a lot of things from my past, trauma related, like deep.
Which everybody, I think everybody
more
does.
people have trauma than and they might not even realize it.
But I think the majority don't.
Because you compartmentalize, you stuff it down, you bury it, especially men. Mm-hmm. Not to say women don't. Mm-hmm. Let me clarify. But I will speak again from personal experience. Like,
we're men. You know, we got our own. We're going to give our
the good old man up line, right?
For sure.
It's like you're told that your whole life. So it's like bury those feelings, don't talk about it, and hopefully life is okay.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for me, it was bleeding into my marriage. Another thing that was bleeding into my marriage, which I refused to allow. So those issues, like I realized that I had to address. And I was able to address them through fellowship from the church. Like there's a group called Freedom. It's a 12-week program where each week you meet once a week we have 18 guys in our group right now. We actually meet here now, which is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I did my first round. It wasn't here, but I did my first round in 2024 going into 2025. Week 3 of that is when I decided to just, I felt this conviction to get clean right then and there.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it was. It was just like what you're saying, some sort of spiritual awakening that just clicked for me. Yes. And I remember exactly where I was. Yep. I was reading the chapter. I paused. I went outside. I grabbed the kratom from my car because I had to hide it and be in shame. And I grabbed a bag full of pills. I put the pills in my mailbox. I told my brother to come get them, and I dumped the kratom out. Yeah. And that was it. That was February of 2025. Yeah. So again, whatever you need to kind of flick that switch, you just got to find it.
Yes,
that's I can't even explain it, but that was something that was so necessary for me. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you feel this way or have felt this way, but for a long time, for years, probably the last decade before finding God, I felt this just like this hole. You know, it's very hard to explain, but like an emptiness.
It's actually not hard.
It's probably more relatable than I realized.
Yeah, it's actually completely.
But that was
relatable.
a massive thing that I just couldn't figure out. No matter how successful, right? Because outside looking in,
Yes.
everyone sees the shiny things and thinks that they're so happy, and that's the problem with Instagram.
Yeah.
Right? Is it's delusion.
Yeah.
It's delusion, and a lot of times people don't want to admit that they feel empty. You know, but that was something that was so massive for me, was the shift in that feeling and allowing myself to have the fellowship aspect, meeting with a group of guys that have all different sorts of backgrounds and addictions, to let me know that it's not just me.
Mm-hmm. What you just described is the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, which is crazy, you know, because you mentioned the fellowship. Okay, there's the group of people that you go to meetings with and you find camaraderie with, and you have a sponsor and all that stuff. And those principles will work every time. It's a guaranteed. So it's just a matter of finding your way to those principles. And look, the cool part is both the things we're talking about are free of charge.
Yeah.
Free of charge.
Yeah.
AA, well, they'll ask you for $1 maybe to put in the basket for their rent, and you don't have to put it in. Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to put it in there. Just like church, they put the basket around, you know, to put money in. But it's absolutely for free. And I think that if people understood that those resources were there and would lay aside their biases towards those resources, we might see a lot less people addicted.
A lot of it is
Yeah.
ego. A lot of it is ego.
Kidding me? All of it is ego.
Yes, I would say the majority of it is ego. Is you just being in denial and saying that you don't need anything. You don't
Or
need
that you're
anybody.
better than.
Yes.
Okay, that's the comparison game.
Hold yourself above these things.
Yes, you're the comparison game. I remember first meeting I ever went to, my dad dropped me off. This was like 2007. And I remember he picked me up and he's like, "How was it?" And I was like, "Honestly, man, I don't know about all that." You know, because I was just very overwhelmed. And he was like, "Yeah, you're not like those people, Bill. You don't belong there." And I was like, "You're right." You are right, Dad. I do not belong there.
That was your out.
And that was my out. Yeah. And ever since that moment, I was like, "Man, those people are crazy, man." Or, "Man, that's a cult."
Yeah.
The cult, that was the best. That was the always the line.
I hear
threw
that
out.
a lot.
Oh, it's a cult.
I hear that a lot.
That's a cult.
And that's the thing is you get what you put into these things, right?
Yes.
So same way that you can go to an AA meeting and not speak up, not tell your
And
story,
get literally nothing out of it.
you're not going to get anything
get
out
zero
of it.
out of it, I
You might hear
promise.
some good stories.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll take a little bit away from it, but as far as change in yourself, I feel like you're not going to get there.
It's participating in your own life, man.
But again,
You
it
have to
comes
participate in your own
it comes down to ego.
Yeah.
It comes down to it happens in our group, you know, especially the first couple weeks. I could see pain in these guys' eyes. I could
sure.
see it.
Oh.
I could feel it.
Oh, I could see it too.
And they just don't speak up, largely due to I'm sure a massive amount of it is shame,
And fear being judged.
Yeah, shame.
Yeah, of course.
Shame ties to shame, right? It's
Yeah.
like, but little do they know, I guarantee you, out of 18 guys, the majority of us speak, to be clear. But as far as like truly opening up,
Yeah.
it takes time. Inevitably so. It's completely understandable.
Yeah.
But again, you're gonna get what you put into it. Like that's what you're gonna get out of it. So it's one of those things where you have to capitalize on the outlet that you're being given access to, because they're not really super common.
Yeah.
They're not.
No.
Like it's so important that you have someone to talk to.
Yeah.
It's
Preferably
just,
someone who's not your family.
Yes.
Because I find that family, you hold back. I lied to my family all the time.
100%.
And it was mainly because I didn't want them to worry or I didn't want the judgment. You know, I think that was so important for me to find a good sponsor in AA, because he was a guy who lived my life, basically. Lived just like I did.
Relatability is massive.
And I was able to tell him things that like other people would scoff at, and he'd be like, "Pfft, yeah, I did that too."
Yeah. Relatability is key, right? So one of the things I missed, one of the major aspects I missed, now one of my best friends, he's one of the campus pastors. The timing, again, in my opinion, it's only God. Like I feel the calling. I happen to walk in the same week that I walk into church. I meet someone named Dalton that's he's now 8 years clean. And boom, there's my relatability right there.
Yeah.
I felt that I found someone that has walked a somewhat similar path that I could talk to without judgment.
Yeah.
And it's so massive that you feel like you have that with someone.
Yeah.
Because if not, like you said, when you're talking to family, I'm the same way. It's either fear of judgment or assumptions.
I don't want the lecture either.
Assumptions.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
assume that they're going to react a certain way.
Yeah.
So you're like, why would I waste my time?
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But the point is, like, having that outlet is way bigger than I think anyone realizes.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think that goes to even just beyond addiction. That goes to any problems.
Any
in life.
part of your life.
Any problems in life. That you need outlets of sorts. You know what I mean? And I think that addiction seems like a good outlet at first, right? It does. It
Feels like it.
Feels like a good one at first, and then over time, now it's a new problem I need help with. You know, because now I can't stop.
Yeah, I would say that that's one of the biggest issues is just lack of talking.
Yeah.
Like nobody really feels that they need to open up. And again, it goes back to bottling in those emotions until, unfortunately, something bad happens. You know?
Yeah, and it will. The bad things will happen. All right, so I think that we've gotten a lot accomplished this podcast. You know, it was more of a coming back party, and touching on kratom and addiction and recovery, and three really important topics that I think are very prevalent in today's society, and that people kind of are taboo talking about them. But I think they should be spoken about way more.
Yeah.
Because so many people are suffering with addiction silently, and it's a quick way to not get help and potentially die is staying quiet about things like this.
Yeah, and like you said, I feel like it's not just addiction. Like anybody that it feels like they're going through any sort of issue, you have to find someone to talk to, whether that be a friend or ideally someone that has walked a similar path.
Yeah.
It's going to increase your odds to success, in my opinion.
Absolutely. As long as you're open to it.
Therapy's great.
Yeah.
Therapy's great. I was in denial about therapy for majority of my life, a very long time, even though deep down I knew I needed it.
Yeah.
Again, goes back to ego. I told myself, like, what are they going to do? What are they going to tell me? It's silly when you really start to think about it. And like, now I'm thankful that I did it.
Yeah.
So if you take anything away from this, it's like, go talk to somebody. Go talk to somebody and just have a conversation and see how you feel about it.
For sure. And don't do kratom.
And don't do kratom or opioids.
Kratom is a terrible idea.
It's not good.
It's a terrible idea. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us on this very first episode back. Moving forward, we're going to be having more topics to talk about. This one was kind of a welcome back type deal, and we look forward to going through the ins and outs and the both sides of topics moving forward. For those who maybe don't realize, the doubt and devotion part is more looking at two sides of each coin, right? So moving forward, we're going to be taking a topic and looking at one side of it and looking at the other side of it and see how they kind of contrast and compare, and what is the middle ground on those things,
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Appreciate you guys tuning in and look forward to the next podcast, guys.
Thanks, guys. Peace out.